Hello YouTube, hello, and we're back, of course, as we always are. But, why but? Today, we're gonna be talking about mix-ups. Well, not mix-ups, but a mix-up that no one talks about. Well, not a lot of people, anyway. And this is very important, very, very important. And this will basically level up your game more the more you understand it, the better you understand it. So, let's talk about it. What am I even talking about? So what I'm talking about is that mix-ups are generally considered between a low and a mid, right? Very, very simple. A low is something like a hell sweep, and then mid something like an FF3 or CD1+2 or anything like that. Right, this is a generic definition of a mix-up, and this is correct, obviously. Right, but the mix-up I'm referring to might not be exactly the same, technically a mix-up, but this is also very important to realize because it's also kind of a mix-up. What I'm referring to is checks, the buttons we call checks. Now what do I mean by this? Why are checks a mix-up per se? Let me explain. Let me just explain by demonstrating it, obviously. So when you block something like Victor's while running 2, let's say, you're gonna get mixed up. You're gonna get mixed up by something like this, which is a hell sweep, so let me demonstrate this, right? This is a hell sweep. You're gonna get mixed up by the slow, because the moment you block this, you kinda have to duck here. Because you can't really do anything about it, so you kind of have to duck. That's a low mix-up. Very, very simple. Low mix-up, I already explained it, right? Normal definition. The other thing is also getting mixed up by a mid, which I'm forgetting how to transfer. I'm not Victor player, guys. Sorry. But yeah, like this kind of mid, right? You're gonna get mixed up because this is also something you can't really step. No stepping, and you kind of have to guess between a lower mid, so duck or not. Very generic mix-up here. But, what are the purpose of checking that I was talking about? The reason why checking is a thing and why you have to guess for that as well is because there is a way you can stop this mix-up. I've talked about this before. And you jab here. If you want to stop and don't guess, let's say you don't want to guess, you jab here. Or down jab. Either one works. And obviously Victor has some other buttons that will beat this, but yeah, these can work. And it's very good to do. Now there comes the purpose of checks. Victor has a dedicated check button here which serves this exact purpose to beat this exact button, which is the 1, right? This one right here. The 1-1 extension is just a string. So if I do that jab now, I will get hit. So this is the purpose of the check. If I want to not get mixed up, I press a jab. But a check will beat my jab. And now this is the third mix-up I was talking about. You have to consider the check and apply extra steps to beat this check. Because this check has its way to be beaten most of the time. So there are some situations when you can't beat the check, but for example, in this situation, sidestep will beat it. I messed up the electric there, but you can sidestep and then electric. This is how you beat this. And if you watch some tournaments, let's say a recent one was a Mulgold versus Ferzine, Claudio versus Victor, you will notice that Mulgold was sidestepping left after blocking something like while running 2 or even while running 1+2, which is the double low. That is the reason why. This is the extra layer you have to consider when you're trying to guess correctly. And you have to guess for the check just as much as the low and mid. This is the third layer. Now let me make more examples of this with other characters. Victor, yeah, sure. This is a check that you have to consider. And other character, for example, let's say Dragunov. Also a very popular character, right? Just for me to show you guys how this works. On Dragunov, when you block a while running 2, let's say you block a while running 2, it's a +4 move. You would usually consider maybe sidestepping here, right? Because to avoid something like a down 1. As a mid mix-up, because it might get mixed up with a down 2. Exactly the same frames, right? While running 2, you block it, down 2. You can't really do anything much about that. More or less, this is a mix-up, right? This is a mix. The moment you block this, you kind of have to guess because you can't sidestep here. You can't really do anything. You have to duck. Sidestep, duck, or just duck in general. This is your guess. This is your guess. But the other thing you can also do is a mid, obviously. This is the generic mid and low mix-up that I already talked about. And I explained this is usually how it is. This into down 1. Right? So if you do duck, that's gonna hit you. Now, you can obviously step this, right? The mid options, most of the mid options Dragunov can do here is gonna be steppable, so you'll be able to, let's say, step one direction and beat him. Maybe not both directions, like I stepped to the left, didn't really work. There we go, now it worked because I sidewalked. And now you can beat them. So sidestepping is a common option here, right? Because of this. But here comes the third option. The check of Dragunov. If you guys notice, they pay attention, Dragunov players really like doing a 2-1 here. It's not just a 2-1, they could do other jab strings too. But why is that the case? The reason is to stop any kind of sidestepping, because this is a check for sidestepping. You can step the first hit. It is possible, by the way. But it's a little bit more awkward. But not only that, this beats very specific sidestep left, which people use to stop a very specific move. Step a very specific move. Which, for example, is a down forward Y. Right? So these kind of checks have purposes, not only to stop, let's say, buttons, but let's say stop specific sidesteps or sidesteps in general. Since you want to sidestep left here, right? You want to step left for a down forward 1, you can't step to the right. They will use something like a 2-1. This into 2-1. This will just stop you from sidestepping to the left, which is another check for steppers to the left. It's just really that simple. And if you do want to beat it, you either do something like this, which is a duck, or sidestep to the right to beat this. So this is an additional layer, as I already explained, to consider when you do this kind of mix-ups. So a good thing, what would you guys think a good thing here would be, is to do a sidestep right here, and then duck. So just in case they do a down 2, you'll duck that as well. So you cover multiple options. You will get hit by a down forward 1, let's say. You will get hit by maybe even down 1 because you're doing a sidestep duck, maybe. Right? But maybe you'll cover that as well. But you have to consider multiple angles here. And this is why, again, this is why something like while running 2 into while running 2 on Dragunov works so well. Right? Double while running 2. Because the opponent will do a sidestep duck here, and then they get hit. Or they do a sidestep duck button, and they get counter hit. Especially if the Dragunov player delays their timing. Right? They do something like this, and then run up a little bit, and then do it again. So you're trying to do something like this, sidestep right duck, and then press a button, and you get counter hit. So this is the additional layer and why it's so important. The attacker will use this against you, but the defender also has to realize this exists. The 2-1 creates this. It's not just the 2-1, obviously I can use other stuff. But yeah, now let's do something a little bit more different. Similar, but different. Let's talk about long. So these kind of checks usually are checks you kind of don't want to block. Usually. Like in Victor's case, if you block the 1, you're gonna be in like a 3-way mix-up because there's a plus frame high, there's a mid extension, another mid extension, and the mid extension has another mid extension, and there's a teleport, which is a cancel into another pressure. Example. For Dragunov after 2-1, he doesn't really have a lot of mind streams there, so he can keep pressure on you. So you don't really want to block those, you kind of want to deal with them somehow. But the best way for me to actually represent this and for you guys to see it a little bit more clearly is Law. So Law is another example, is when you block Law's Dragon Hammer, which is forward 1+2, there's a slide here, right? Obviously there's a slide and you will get mixed up by this if you don't duck. You can't really step this, right? No step available. You have to block this and then float it if you want to deal with it. It is a mix-up. But there's also a mid mix-up. Right? Whenever you block this, the Law player can just choose to do this bit kind of mid. And the moment you do some duck like that, let's say a backdash duck or just ducking, there we go, you're getting mixed up, right? But there's a great option that no matter what they do, let's say they do this mid mix-up I talked about, right? The mid mix-up can actually be beaten by a wall standing 4. You can beat this and it gets floated, right? Let's say I do a slide. If I do a slide, this will also get beaten by a wall standing 4. Now this is the third layer, a check. Now the check here, usually you guys will know, if you played against the Law, you will know, is gonna be a wall standing 4. Now wall standing 4 is an amazing check because it will stop steppers to the left, it will stop any kind of buttons, right? And you have to consider that you don't want to block this either, because the moment you block it, it goes into DSS and you're -4 when you block it. So this is an extra step you have to consider, that you don't want to block these checks. Most of the time you actually don't want to block them. Some of them it's fine, but some of them you don't want to block. So you have to know how to deal with them, which is, as I said, another mix-up. It's another layer. and that the layer is important for you to know, because now you know, oh, I have to sidestep this to the right. The wall standing forward check that a lot of players like to do after Dragon Hammer. I can beat this if I read that they're gonna go for the check. But if you sidestep to the right, you will get mixed up easily, because you won't beat the slide. Slide will track you. Up forward 3, maybe you'll beat the mid. Maybe you'll beat the mid, right? And if you do sidestep duck, maybe you will even beat the slide. But there comes the extra mind game and the extra mix-ups, the extra layers, that the law player might just continue pressuring you instead of doing the wall standing forward or the mix-up. They'll just do another Dragon Hammer. Let's say dash in into another Dragon Hammer. This is what you see pro players do. They do a Dragon Hammer, which is forward 1+2, right? They just do this and then dash and do it again. Because the defender thinks, okay, there might be a check. I'm going to sidestep right duck, except for a slide. But they just dash in and do it again. And now I'm forced to make it either the same decision again or change it up and switch it up. This layer is very important. I can't stress how important this layer is. It's super, super important for you guys to not only play it, but just understand it. One more thing I need to mention here, though, is that this is knowledge dependent, character dependent. You have to know this kind of stuff. And this is why it's so difficult to do this. It's very difficult to do this because 1, you need to know, 2, you need to know how to deal with it, and 3, you need to actually do it, which requires a lot of practice and playing. But yeah, this is the video for today, YouTube. This is it. Hopefully it was helpful. I know it's very difficult stuff I was talking about and it requires a lot of knowledge, but just understanding it is already enough for you to start doing all of these things I'm talking about. But yeah, big thank you for watching, YouTube. Big thank you. And I'll see everyone in the next one. Till then.